this Garchomp, and like you mentioned, that does free up the Life Orb available on the opposing Golden-Go. So that would allow things like, well, the Life Orb Shadow Ball definitely KO his opposing Golden-Go, whereas a non-boosted one, so the Metal Coat not boosting the Shadow Ball, may not be able to respond back with a KO. So it does free up your Golden-Go to somewhat beat the opposing a little bit better. And then, of course, the Garchomp holding that clear Amnet will be a much more effective against the Incineroar.
Let's get into this, trainers. It's time for our Masters Top 4 here in Dortmund. Porygon 2 and Sneasler leading the fray over on Mattie's side, and Incineroar and Porygon 2 coming out for Alessandro. Let's get into this.
Yeah, we got fake outs on both sides here. We've got the Incineroar. You get the Intimidate down onto the Sneasler, so you should be able to survive a close combat pretty comfortably with either Pokemon here. And, oh, actually, no, this is just a coaching Sneasler. There's no fake out available on this one. So, actually, usually you would be incredibly scared to go for a fake out into the opposing Sneasler because they would be faster, and surely you can't match fake outs like that. But this would be a situation where, actually, yes, Incineroar could very freely go for a fake out into Sneasler. That would put a stop to any close combats, and of course the Diaclaw shenanigans that can happen. But at the same time, you could have been coaching your own Porygon 2 to get a defense boost, and then if you keep getting coaching boosts, well, that could also have got you a physical Terra Blast. But no, straight on the offense, no fake out here.
No fake out, close combat, bringing that Incineroar into the red, just like the fur all over its body, as knock off will be removing the Eviolite from Mattie's Porygon 2. Eviolite, of course, boosting the defenses of the Pokemon yet to evolve. Ice Beam connecting down into Mattie's Porygon 2 as well. No freeze to speak of, just a raw Terra Blast to pick up the knockout on the Incineroar.
Yeah, very nicely done there. That is the Incineroar taken care of. That's fake outs and all that parting shot pivoting gone. But you did end up losing your Eviolite in response to that. So the Porygon 2 on Mattie's side is going to be a lot less bulky. Here comes a Moongus, so Alessandro is going to be able to pretty comfortably go for a Spore here. There's not going to be too much offensive pressure into the Amoonguss. Ice Beam would still do very reasonable damage, but it should be able to shrug off a Diaclaw and an Ice Beam, especially with the fact it's holding that Citrus Berry for even more longevity. So this is a pretty free Spore if Alessandro does want to take it, but at the same time, maybe you want to Rage Powder so you can keep the Porygon 2 safe. You can still take a very strong close combat, even at -1, but no, the Porygon 2, it is going to be switching out, but Ursaluna wouldn't want to take a close combat either.
Ursaluna comes coursing onto the scene. Yes, being a part normal type would be taking super effective damage from the close combat. The other Porygon 2, the other rubber little duck, goes paddling away back to his trainer as but there it is. There's close combat into the Ursaluna. Takes it really, really well. It's a Pokemon known for its great physical defense. As Sneasler softens itself up, it does have that Focus Sash to buy it some time, but Spore, all that's going to be buying it is some time to sleep.
Oh, that's absolutely a great trade there for Mattie. Yes, you will accept a sleeping Sneasler for this Ursaluna definitely being in range of even just a neutral Life Orb Make It Rain. And you don't have the Porygon 2 on the field anymore to try and get the Trick Room up so that the Ursaluna would be able to attack the Golden-Go with its ground type attacks. Rage Powder won't help you here. Make It Rain is a spread type attack. If you just go for a Protect on Ursaluna to try and sacrifice your Amoonguss, Amoonguss is too bulky to be KO'd to Make It Rain. So that means you'd have to switch in your Porygon 2 and protect your Ursaluna if you want to try and position into that Trick Room. But then you'd have to maybe switch out into the Amoonguss again as you Trick Room, and then that's 2 Make It Rains that you've taken. So yeah, really, really nice switch in for the Golden-Go there to threaten all this damage, and also would have been a Spore immunity as well. But yeah, Golden-Go absolutely in a fantastic position after that brilliant close combat into the Ursaluna.
Huge calls all round as the scary cat joins the field over on Mattie's side. Intimidate will be mitigating the damage coming out from this Ursaluna, and Ursaluna is indeed going to be withdrawing just as soon as it hit the field. 4 Porygon 2s come in. Of course, Alessandro's bulkier since it has that Eviolite intact. Gets the attack boost, not what you want to see in a Porygon 2, being a special attacker. It's now time to get sparkly trainers here in top 4 of Dortmund. Golden-Go will be going for its Steel Terra type, so cashing in all its checks for that metallic power, making it rain on the field. So even though Porygon 2 has just switched in, looking healthier than the Ursaluna, how much cash can it take? Here it comes, pouring down, and that Porygon 2 down to about half of its HP. Really fantastic damage on the Amoonguss 2.
Yeah, that was really, really good damage here, and it doesn't particularly matter what the Amoonguss is going for here. If it was a Spore into the Incineroar slot, well, that doesn't matter because it's got the Sacred Claws. It has to be a Pollen Puff into yourself, which it is ending up being here. So that actually does give the Porygon 2 a little bit of leeway, but now you've got your Sacred Claws Incineroar in. there is nothing stopping a fake out and a nasty plot here. And then you're absolutely threatening huge damage with a +1. We saw that the neutral Golden Go's Make It Rain was not quite doing half damage to Porygon 2, so at least after this assumedly fake out and nasty plot turn, you will be able to survive and hopefully set up the Trick Room. But Amoonguss would go down when you're still setting that up. That frees up the Incineroar to pivot back out, get the Intimidate on the Ursaluna later. So yeah, still an absolutely fantastic position for Mattie, because the Golden Go is just really not threatened here at all.
Well, fake out will be making sure that Porygon 2 certainly is not going to be able to set up that Trick Room, just as you said, Jamie. And there's Golden Go having a light bulb moment, boosting its special attack back up to +1, as Pollen Puff able just to recover that little bit of health on the Porygon 2. And at this stage of the competition, it really is as fine margins as that.
Yeah, that extra bit of recovery could actually be pretty impactful here, because if you go for a +1 Make It Rain and a Flare Blitz, that's going to be really close if that's enough to KO the Porygon 2. Based on the previous damage of a neutral Make It Rain, it's going to be really close. And that tiny bit of recovery could allow the Porygon 2 to be able to survive. It's basically one of the bulkiest Pokemon that we have in the game when it is carrying that EVO Light. So if it's able to survive, that could be very, very big here, because otherwise Trick Room won't go up.
Absolutely massive turn for Alessandro here. Can they get this Trick Room up? As a big Make It Rain now connects down, Amoonguss definitely down and out for the count. It did Rage Powder, but now Incineroar's attack will be redirected into the Porygon 2. Does it have enough gas in the tank to survive whatever's coming out from this Incineroar? It's a big Flare Blitz into the Porygon 2. It's going to be a critical hit as well. And so absolutely no Trick Room to speak of. This Ursaluna coming out in the dimensions it does not like.
And I guess we'll never find out if that was able to KO the Porygon 2 without the critical hit, but that just absolutely seals the game for Mattie. Ursaluna, it's in range of a Make It Rain at this point. You don't have the Trick Room. You're not going to be able to outspeed. Yeah, Alessandro realizes this, is going to throw in the towel. So just fantastically positioned there from Mattie. It seemed like that Golden Go was very, very crucial, and it was able to get into a position very comfortably to just launch off a Make It Rain and then set up the nasty plot, and then here's a boosted Make It Rain, and we just sweep through the game.
Yes, you have your ground-type damage threatening the Golden Go, but outside of Trick Room, the Golden Go is absolutely acting faster. Speed tiering is so important in this game. Who's going first and when? Porygon 2 was attempting to reverse that with the Trick Room. Trick Room, of course, allows slower Pokemon to move earlier in the turn, reversing the speed order. So, really convincing and fairly swift win for Mattie there in this Game 1 of Top 4. Jamie, looking at Alessandro's team, what are you thinking in terms of adjustments?
I think the Amoonguss was just out of position there, because like the Golden Go, you ignore it completely, and you bypass its Rage Powders. The Incineroar is safety goggles, so that Amoonguss was effectively a dead slot. Like, yes, you got the Pollen Puff into your Porygon 2, that wasn't enough because it was still KO'd to the combination of Make It Rain and the Flare Blitz. So I don't think the Amoonguss is doing too much here. Like, Rage Powder is nice, but not against a Golden Go and not against the safety goggles Incineroar. So if it would have been something else, like the Flamigo, if that would have been in the back, that would have threatened the Golden Go and the Incineroar. So you'd be able to threaten close combats, not need Trick Room, and free up your Porygon 2 completely. So yeah, I don't think that Amoonguss is doing too much here for Alessandro. And I think that maybe a switch up, maybe to their own Golden Go, or the Flamigo could be a nice adjustment here.
Yeah, you'd also threaten that Sneasler if that were to come out for Mattie as well. Yeah, Flamigo would be a much more oppressive Pokemon for Alessandro to be able to bring. If you're relying on that Trick Room to get the Ursaluna set up, you have to make your peace with the fact that it might not go up at all, and the Ursaluna might be left high and dry, just like it was in that Game 1. So let's see if we have a more threatening lead coming out from Alessandro as we get in to Game 2 of our Top 4 here at the Dortmund Regional Championships.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a very reasonable lead coming out from Mattie in that first game. Even though the Sneasler didn't have Fake Outs, Fake Out wasn't hit into it from the opposing Incineroar. It's the same as we saw before. Same from both players here. So it's going to be Incineroar Porygon 2 coming out from Alessandro again, getting that Intimidate on the Sneasler, and the Sneasler paired up with the Porygon 2. So now do we see a Fake Out into the opposing Sneasler? Because last time, the close combat and the Terra Blast was an immediate KO into the Incineroar. That took away any potential pivoting. That was a huge answer gone from the Golden Go, because Incineroar is definitely one of the best answers that Alessandro has available for the assumedly Golden Go waiting in the back, given how good it was in the previous game. This could be an opportunity to immediately set up Trick Room. Like, maybe if you're willing to sacrifice your Incineroar to the close combat and Terra Blast again, so that you can Trick Room, and now here's the Ursaluna ready to go. That could be pretty reasonable as well.
It certainly could. Will the Porygon 2 be able to get up the Trick Room? A close combat would be super effective into that normal type Pokemon. It is Terra Flying that would enable it to resist, but no, the close combat once again goes into the Incineroar. That Wrestling Cat more than familiar with the close combat required coming out from that Sneasler. Sneasler once again softening itself up. Poison Touch activating thanks to the ability. Incineroar now being poisoned here on a timer. Knockoff again softening up the Porygon 2 over on Mattie's side as well. Ice Beam connecting into the Incineroar. Will it be enough for the knockout? No, it won't, and the poison will chip away at it too. It's time for the Trick Room to go up, trainers.
Yeah, he did go for the Trick Room here, and maybe, like I said previously, expecting the Incineroar to go down, and even with the poison, no. A perfectly trained Incineroar? Did you want to be KO'd
exactly,
there? So,
yeah.
like, technically perfectly trained, but actually it might have been more ideal to lose your Incineroar there because it is, of course, on the timer. It's going to be KO'd whenever it stays on the field now. Incineroar doesn't like to stay on the field. It likes to switch out and pivot back in to get fake outs and maybe just go for a parting shot as well. But yeah, you'd probably prefer the Incineroar to go down there. So actually, a very smart Ice Beam coming out from Porygon 2 because that would have covered something else switching in, like maybe the Amoonguss that could have switched in straight away on the close combat and Terra Blast, and that would have been able to do some pretty significant damage. But yeah, Incineroar, it's in a little bit of an awkward position here.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's going to stay in. It's just going to take out those final frosty bites from the Porygon 2 and finally go down. And now Alessandro has that free range of switching on the next turn. This Bear Terra Blast, still the Porygon 2 can deal decent damage with. Going into the Porygon 2 here could have been an opportunity to break the Focus Sash on the Sneasler. That Porygon 2 being brought down to about a third of its health thanks to that close combat. But of course, where there's a recover, you can easily just heal that right back up. And there is the Ursaluna waiting in the wings.
Yeah, you could also Pollen Puff yourself as well. And here comes the Amoonguss. So Amoonguss now in Trick Room is a lot more reasonable. So in the previous game, wasn't really threatening too much into the Golden Go and Incineroar. They could very easily still switch in here. Given the fact that the Ursaluna is not on the field, there's nothing stopping a Golden Go switching in and not taking any damage because the Porygon 2 is not threatening anything. There's nothing stopping the Incineroar switching in and not taking really too much damage. Terra Blast would do okay damage, but not that great damage. So you need to consider getting your Ursaluna in on the field, but then you might need to contend with a potential close combat like we saw in that game 1. It still did huge damage even at -1.
Nice switch in for Gholdengo here, being immune to status moves thanks to its good as gold ability. So if Amoonguss were indeed targeting down that slot with the Spore, it would not do anything as Ursaluna is going to be switching in. Sneasler going for that Protect. At the end of this turn, Ursaluna will be able to be burned by its Flame Orb, so nice switch in there. And that was the Spore going into the Gholdengo indeed. So really nice call from Mattie here. Now, of course, we've got the Ursaluna that's outspeeding the Gholdengo under the Trick Room environment, but Mattie here really looking just to stall out this Trick Room.
Yeah, for sure. Gholdengo's not in as good a position as it was in that first game because Trick Room is active on the field. In the previous game, it was able to just threaten the massive damage with the Make It Rain. The Ursaluna had taken a close combat and would have been in range of that attack. Now, Ursaluna's threatened the KO into the Gholdengo, and there's not too much going to be stopping that. Even if the Incineroar switches in with the Guts boost, the Ursaluna should still be able to knock out the Gholdengo in one shot. Because it's the offensive Terra, the Terra Steel, there's no way to get around like a Headlong Rush defensively because you're still going to be weak to it in and out of your Terra. So this is a much, much stronger position for Alessandro here because he's got his Ursaluna in the Trick Room ready to go.
It's a stronger position, but we saw that the Earthquake was locked into. That could be dealing massive damage to the Amoonguss for no reason. We do indeed see Gholdengo going for the Protect here. Sneasler protected on the previous turn. Going to be Spore coming out, so you're going to be dealing massive damage to the Sneasler. It's going to hang on anyway from the Focus Sash, and the Gholdengo's protecting. So all you're doing really with this Earthquake is harming your Amoonguss, as well, of course, as breaking that Focus Sash. But might have just been, you certainly don't need to worry about targeting around going for an Earthquake, but look at all that damage that you've dealt to your own Pokemon.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage to the Amoonguss. At least you activate the Citrus Berry, so it's back to a very reasonable amount of HP. I think what Mattie's trying to do here is just stall out the Trick Room, because if the Porygon 2 is not able to recover and he gets out of Trick Room with the Gholdengo, then you can just make it rain throughout the rest of the game. Especially because the Ursaluna went for an Earthquake. The bonus there was it didn't actually drop its special defense for a Headlong Rush, which means it would still be potentially out of range of a Make It Rain were Mattie to be able to successfully stall out the Trick Room. Whether that's a Terra Steel Make It Rain, it's going to be able to survive with just neutral special defense. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case. But I think it was very smart of Alessandro not to KO the Sneasler there, because that would have given a switch into the Incineroar, and then you can just go for Fake Out into Ursaluna in a nasty plot. Then you can protect on the final turn of Trick Room, and then it is just Make It Rain for the game. But because it was a Spore instead of a Pollen Puff KO into the Sneasler, this bought a turn for the Ursaluna to still do what it wants to do here.
It certainly did, and it's really nice to see this Life Orb on Mattie's Golden Go. It means that you can protect the Choice Specs variants, of course, unable to, as Ursaluna goes careering back to its trainer, and Porygon 2 landing on the field once more, getting a boost once more to its attack. So this old Golden Go is going to be switching out as well, fearing the Ursaluna staying in, going for a big attack. And here is the Incineroar coming in, freeing up a Fake Out on the next turn. Alessandro angling to reset up the Trick Room here. It is mind games aplenty right now here in Dortmund. And Sneasler, it's just going to be the double switch and the reveal of the final Pokemon for Mattie. It's going to be the Porygon 2.
Yeah,
not the reveal.
Yeah, well, it's going to join the field once again, and it's still going to get that attack boost there. Not going to be too impactful. But yeah, very, very nicely done from Alessandro there. That is a Pollen Puff into the Porygon 2, and it is now incredibly healthy once again, just as the Trick Room finishes. So yeah, really, really nicely done. The only issue here is Amoonguss is incredibly threatened by a Flare Blitz KO into that slot, and you don't have Protect. So there's not too much that you can do about that. Yes, you do have your Terrestrialization available still. That would be pretty nice to be able to survive that attack. But then Porygon 2, maybe a knockoff and a... Well, actually, no, not the knockoff because the Citrus Berry is already in use, so it wouldn't do as much damage. So maybe a defensive Terrestrialization would allow this Amoonguss to survive, because the Porygon 2 should be able to make it through the turn pretty comfortably. It might lose its item for a knockoff if it doesn't go for H-Pad on the Amoonguss, but you've got the opportunity to get Trick Room up once again, and Trick Room has been stalled out here, but if the Ursaluna can get into a second Trick Room, that would be very, very solid for Alessandro.
Of course, Mattie's Porygon 2 also has access to Trick Room, so you could just reverse the Trick Room that Porygon 2 sets up. But of course, with Fake Out, you can buy yourself a turn here, and once again, Spore heading into the Golden Go. So a knockout for the taking on the Amoonguss there, but it's nice to deny the Trick Room that could be so huge for Alessandro.
Yeah, and here you can now have the option to go for a Terra Steel, Make It Rain, and maybe a Flare Blitz KO into the Porygon 2. It's going to be weaker than it was in the previous game. That was +1 Make It Rain from the Golden Go. Now we're at neutral. You still do have Terrestrialization available on Alessandro's side, and that looks like what we are going to be seeing here, because the Amoonguss, it would have been KO to a Make It Rain, most likely if it was Terra Steel. It would have been KO to a Flare Blitz, but the Terra Water on the Amoonguss is going to be able to resist both the Make It Rain and the Flare Blitz, so very, very good defensive Terra here for that Amoonguss.
Yeah, Water, the ideal choice, as it will be redirecting any single target attack towards this cute little mushroom as Golden Go decides to get nasty, boosting its special attack by 2 stages. May as well get it primed in order to deal with any Pokemon before a Trick Room set up, but this Porygon 2 is now free to do just that. Parting Shot, though, is going to allow the Incineroar to pivot out, force something in the back to rejoin the field, potentially that Porygon 2, so that you can reverse the Trick Room that potentially Alessandro is fishing to set up here in this Rubber Duck Pond.
Yeah, absolutely. Porygon 2 is going to join the field there. Golden Go going for the nasty plot, though, so it is incredibly boosted up. Yes, that is the Trick Room from the Porygon 2, but once again, the Ursaluna needs to be on the field to threaten this Golden Go. Amoonguss just straight up does not. Porygon 2, because it's got the Terra Blast fighting to it available, and we can't even Terra anymore. Now it's just normal Terra Blast and Ice Beam. That still does not threaten the Golden Go. It has to be the Ursaluna to break through this opposing Golden Go. So now you've got to try and reposition it at some point to be able to Earthquake or Headlong Rush that Golden Go. But the fact that the Porygon 2 on Mattie's side of the field could reverse the Trick Room, the fact that he's still got the Incineroar waiting in the back, which could potentially be in switching in so that you can cycle Fake Outs and be able to stall out the turn Trick Room, which is what we're seeing here. Incineroar switching onto the field. If the Ursaluna does switch in here, well, that's just going to be a Fake Out and a Make It Rain, and then something's going to be KO'd.
This couldn't really be a more different game from the game 1 that we saw, trainers. That first game was incredibly fast and dynamic. This one is all about getting your pieces in the right position. Yes, the Ursaluna joins the field here, and yes, you are threatening super effective damage onto the Incineroar and the Golden Go, which goes for yet another nasty plot. But is it going to come out in the end for Alessandro? Of course, the Amoonguss was also threatening the Spore onto the Trick Room that could have come out from Mattie's Porygon 2 there. So Incineroar coming in instead with those safety goggles.
Yeah, very, very nicely done there for Mattie. Because like it was said in the previous turn, it wasn't threatened. That was just a free nasty plot. There was nothing that Alessandro could do to stop that. And now +4, that's able to knock out the Ursaluna in one shot with Make It Rain for sure. That's probably enough to knock out the Porygon 2 in one shot now. The only issue would be the Terra Water on the Amoonguss might allow it to survive. But if it goes for a Terra Steel, I'm not sure that even with this not very effective hit into the Amoonguss, it would be able to survive. It can't protect. If you go for a Fake Out into the Ursaluna and Shadow Ball into the Amoonguss, that would be a KO, but then you've got to contend with the fact that the Porygon 2 could be switching in, and that would be able to just be completely immune to Shadow Ball. So maybe you still just go for the Make It Rain, even to the not very effective hit, because you're threatening absolutely huge damage. You're at +4 now. You're going for your Terrestrialization to increase the damage even further. So I reckon, like, even with the resisted hit, you've got the Life Orb on top of the Terra Steel, on top of your +4 special attack. I don't think this Amoonguss can take the Make It Rain, even with the resistance.
Well, let's find out. Fake out.
Oh, no protect.
The Ursaluna, there's no protect. Ursaluna not going to be moving this turn. The Pollen Puff, a little bit of recovery here, but oh my goodness, they need to be brave in the face of all these coins that are coming flying out from this Golden Go. It's a big axe on the head. It's a lot of coins flying in the face. That's going to be enough for the knockout on Amoonguss. That's going to be enough for the knockout onto the Ursaluna. It's a double, almost one hit KO there. That's the Terror option down and out for Alessandro too. Mattie Morgan finding the right turn to strike.
Yeah, that very, very nicely done there for Mattie. That kind of had to be a protect on the Ursaluna there because this was just a completely free fake out into a Make It Rain. And because that was strong enough to be able to KO Amoonguss, there was nothing stopping that. And now there is just no damage into this opposing Golden Go. That's why the Terror Blast fighting would be nice, but not in this case. You don't have Terror available anymore. So Alessandro is going to see the writing on the wall here. Mattie Morgan, absolutely fantastic play coming out. Such a well-positioned Golden Go.
Mattie Morgan struck, and he struck gold. It's going to be Mattie Morgan advancing through to our grand finals. Give it up for your first finalist.
Golden Go proving why it is still absolutely a threat here in this Regulation H. We haven't been able to feature it too much on stream. Like in day one, we had it like once, I think.
Yeah.
But that was just such a good showing of how strong the Golden Go can be. We've been seeing a lot of defensive terrors coming out. It's usually been Terror Dragon as the defensive terror of choice, but here, Terror Steel.